Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Just raise your hand if you can.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Can everyone hear me now? Yes? Okay. I have the quietest voice, that's why I need to wear a mic. But that's okay. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm just very privileged to be sharing a very personal story to me, which I don't often share. And Scott invited me here. When I was sitting here just listening to everyone's stories, even though I've heard them, I just started tearing up, and it was just, you guys were amazing.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say that. Where was I? I forgot.
Your name's Sameena.
Right, I forgot to introduce myself, sorry. My name is Sameena, and I'm just going to share a little bit about my story. And like I said, this is my first, it's not my first time. I've shared this story in Pick River. I've shared it a couple of times. When I was sitting here listening to everyone's story, I was like shaking up a little bit, not knowing where to start, what to say, but I'm just going to come out with it. I'm from East Africa, come from a small town called, some of you may not know it, Tanzania. I was born in Nairobi. I came here when I was about 7 years old, and when I first came to this country, everything was so different. I live in Toronto, so everything was so different and so new to me back then. Back in where I came from, there's this very small town, like imagine a town like this, it's even smaller. And the education system was very different, so I came here just not knowing anyone. I came with my parents, I'm an only child. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know the education system. I just felt so new and lost, and can you imagine, 7 years old? And I come from a sheltered life, so my parents tried to give me the best they can. They still do, which I was very lucky to have. But still, going to school, I was in grade 2, grade 3, new kids, new teacher. Just everything was new to me, and I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. 7 years old, I didn't feel like, can you imagine having probably some of you, I don't know if you've developed your identities yet, but can you imagine 7 years old, just completely feeling isolated and lost? And I remember when I am in grade 3, and I went through a very, to me, it was an experience that I can never forget, but I share this with you because I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I'm sharing this with you because I've actually come out of that, and I feel I've become even stronger. And I'm going to share a bit with you of the work I went into as a result of what I went through. So I went through some pretty severe bullying when I was young. I got called all kinds of names, such as stupid, ugly, retard. Even till today I don't like that word. 4 eyes. Yes, I wore glasses since I was 2, and I still do, and I don't wear them because I just wear them because I have to. That's why I wear them, but that's besides the point. So I was also called dumb, and it was just a very traumatic experience for me. And when I got to grade 6, actually, I'm standing in line, and there's this boy in the crowd waiting to go into class, and I still remember, when I'm talking about it, I'm like reliving my experience, and that's pretty hard. So he looked at me, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, "You are very, very, very ugly." And that was a breaking point for me. When he said that, now this is what happened. I got called all kinds of names in school. That's what happened. But what I made it mean is that I was very, very ugly. In my mind, my thoughts went so dark and so deep. That's what I made it mean. So this is what, I'm pointing to Scott. This is what happened, and I'm pointing to you, Cliff. This is what I made it mean. Okay, so the truth was my truth. It's not like it was a reality, but to me, what I made that mean was a reality to me. And I basically walked through school, through high school, a bit through university too. I started sort of changing my thoughts a little bit then, but through high school, through my youth, I walked through believing that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't ugly, no one would want to be with me. I came to the point where I just didn't want to live anymore. And sometimes I would even tell my mom, you know, I did share this in my other talks. I was just thinking, this is the first time I'm sharing this specific tidbit with all of you. I would say to my mom, Mom, why did you give birth to me? Sorry. I wish I was never born. Why did you give birth to such an ugly child? I'm sorry. And she would look at me and she would say, you're not ugly. I said, yes, I am. I don't deserve to live. And I would look in the mirror and I would see someone who I did not like. I would see someone who was fat, and I don't want to offend anyone. I think fat is beautiful, but you know, the media, the society, you know, all that body image. I went through that, and I looked in the mirror, and I did not like who I saw. I would look at myself I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror with glasses on because I did not like who I saw. And for that, I became, as we're talking a little bit about addiction, I became addicted. It wasn't to pot, it wasn't to drugs, it wasn't to cigarette. I became addicted to not eating. I would delete a lot of foods out of my diet. If I would see a chocolate bar or cake, you know, sometimes you have that craving and you just want to eat it, but you feel bad about it, but you still would eat it. So I was maybe at that time 15, 16 years old. I would even eat a piece of cookie or cake, and then my thoughts would go, oh my gosh, I'm going to become fat. That means I'm going to become fat. That means I'm going to become ugly. And I just want to make this clear again. That's the meaning I made of it. It is not the truth. It's the meaning in my mind. At that time, I didn't know any better, right? I didn't know just how to get out of my thoughts. And then I love my mom. Don't get me wrong. She's a great mom, and I've accepted her for who she is, and we have a much better relationship. But back then, my mom became addicted to me not eating. That she would worry a lot, and she would force me to eat, and then she would say, you know, if you don't eat, you're gonna kill me. And then, so I felt bad about that. I said, now I'm gonna hurt my mom. I don't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I felt alone. I had friends, but you know, there's certain things you cannot talk to friends about because they're great and everything, but they won't understand, right? They'll tell you things like, you're not that way, or try to encourage you, which is great, but when you're not in that situation, you don't understand what it's like to feel that way. And yes, there are a lot of people who go through so many tragic things in their life and make it mean. That's a tragedy. What they make that mean is tragic. So what I made that mean, that I was fat, I was ugly, no one would want me, no one would want to be in a relationship with me, therefore I don't deserve to live. I never attempted it, but my thoughts went that way. I said, if I had maybe a pack of pills right now, if I could only have the courage to take those pills and not live the pain that I lived, you know, then at least I would please everyone. So that's where my thoughts went, and that's what I made that mean for myself. That body image was very dark, very negative for me. I would wear baggy shirts, over my pants because I did not like my waist. And I wasn't fat, I was skinny, but that's how I saw myself. I did not like my waist. I saw other people as being beautiful, skinny, attractive, and I would go home and I'd say, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be like that model. And that's basically what I lived. And I also became addicted to my worries. You can become addicted to your worries and your thoughts, and you can tell yourself, no, I'm not going to think that way. I've tried that, but those thoughts do come back, and it's very hard without, someone really listening to you and supporting you. And supporting yourself. It's very hard to come out of those thoughts, to come out of those worries, right? So that's basically, there's more to my story, but due to sake of time, I'm not going to go through the whole details, but I just want to now talk about a few years ago, I met Scott. And Scott, as soon as I met him, and I don't say this because so you can like him, or it's my truth, and my team knows me, Scott knows me. When I say something, it comes
from the heart.
From the heart. I don't choose my words lightly. I met Scott, and he made the world of a difference to me, with me. If I had not met him, I don't give him all the credit, okay? But I still came a long way before I met him. But probably 80%, I am here today because of him. And the reason why, when I first met him, we took some addiction courses together at college. It was after my my post-grad. And Scott actually, at first, I remember sitting in the car with him, and he said, tell me your story. Where are you from? I can't understand you. So I basically just came out of it. I told him my story, and he's like, wow. And when I told him my story, I've known him for 4.5 years, and he just listened to me. And I know this may not mean much. How can you change someone's life without listening to them? But really, listening is everything. I'm actually in the field. I don't really like using this term, but I will. I am a grief counselor, and I'm a social worker. And yes, sometimes people, from who I was, that quiet, meek girl, sometimes it's hard to believe how I became that. And there's a reason why I became from point A to point B. So Scott just listened to me, he heard me, he didn't try to change me, he didn't try to fix me. Through my childhood, through my teenage years, I kept on meeting people who just wanted to fix me. And I also have a quiet voice, and I became ashamed of my voice. That's why I didn't want to talk in public. I became very ashamed of my voice, and I became this invisible person. And Scott was one of the reasons why I got my voice. He gave me a voice. He just gave me his whole heart and soul, and he just would listen to me, and he would nod. And he wouldn't try to change anything. He would tell me, you're perfect, you're beautiful, just the way you are. So what if you speak slow or quiet? Maybe they should move closer to you and try to listen to you, for real. And I'm like, wow. And him and I go a long way back, but I'm not going to get into that story. There's more to that story. Without him, I think there's a reason why he came into my life. Someone was watching over me. After I lost my grandfather was the only person really who truly understood me. He would pray for me, and I would go home after school, and he would ask me, what's wrong? Come and sit with me, I'll pray for you. And when he died, I lost that, and no one understood me, and then I felt like he's my angel who brought Scott into my life to really make me feel like, you're somebody, you're heard. And that's why I do the work that I do today, because I want to give back to those people. I'm so passionate about my grief work. That's what I live for. I live for my family too, but I live for giving back to the community, giving someone. I work with teens, I work with children, I work with families who've lost a loved one, and I work at a hospice. For those of you who don't know what that is, and that's okay, a lot of people don't know. Hospice is an organization that supports people who are living through a life-limiting, life-threatening illness and who have lost a loved one, such as a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, and children who've lost parents as well. So that's the work I do. And how I got there, I just worked at it, and it was a passion. And I think because of the experience I went through, that's what led me to this work. It's just being able to really give your whole heart to someone, whatever profession that may be, and not use it as a
addiction.
Not to use it as something that's intimidating. Oh, I'm a social worker, I'm a counselor, I'm better than you. I just want to be there and be an equal to that person and listen to them and have them heard, because I never got that chance when I was a child. I came from a loving family and they meant well, but no one really heard me or listened to me or said, you know what, it's okay the way you are. You don't have to change, it's okay. And that's why I do the work I do today. And I'm privileged to be here and being able to reach out and share my story. I don't normally stand up in a group like this and cry, but I am an emotional person. But when Scott invited me to come here and just say, he said, you have a powerful story to share. And I say, I don't know if I have a powerful story to share compared to you, Cliff, Nikita, Mike. They're just amazing. Without this team, I couldn't have come up today and shared my story with you. That's why I'm privileged, and I hope that I can make a difference in at least one person's life when I'm here with my story. And I'm just honored to be here, being able to be of maximum, I know this probably sounds a bit cheesy or corny, but maximum service to whatever capacity I can before I go back to my own work and my own world. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.